I have a promise as well. There is a scripture I want to share with you. And at first you might say, well, it doesn't apply to me, but I think it really does. It says, sing, barren woman. You're already sitting there, all the men say, well, yeah, that's for the women. Well, the only scripture verse you really remembered is where it said, wives, submit yourself to your husband. Here's another one for you to memorize. Sing, barren woman, you who have never bore a child, burst into song and shout for joy, you who were never in labor. Because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, saith the Lord. Enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords. Strengthen your stakes. For you will spread out to the right and to the left. Your descendants will depossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. We are the children of the promise of God. God is the promise, and He has never failed. Ever failed. But what happens when something more practical than trusting in the promise comes along? That night the sailors were tempted to take the more pragmatic approach. About midnight the sailors suspected that they were nearing the land, and the sailors were seeking to escape from the ship and had lowered the ship's boat into the sea under the pretense of laying out anchors from the bow of the ship, and they were willing to trust the promise of Paul. No. But Paul said, stay on board the ship. They said, the ship is breaking up. The ship is not breaking up. Stay on board the ship. Pragmatism says, abandon the ship and take your chances rowing for shore. Faith says, stay on board a sinking ship and trust God's promises. In our churches, how quickly do we abandon God's sure promise when something more practical appears on the horizon? People leave because I'm old-fashioned, and they'd like to go to other church where they don't have so much preaching, for this guy goes on forever. I would rather go to a church that sings for 45 minutes and only has the preacher up there for 15. Well, you're in the wrong place. Here, if we sing for 45 minutes, I preach for an hour and 45 minutes. Don't matter. I'm okay with that. Oh, some of you already said, I'm leaving pretty soon. I know it. I am.